Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
And I'm Brittany Pacheco, and we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to discuss the first 3 episodes of the new Marvel television show, Ironheart. Now, Ironheart dropped the first half of their season on June 24th. The second half is next week, July 1st. So it's basically we're doing part 1 of Ironheart. I guess it's going to be one season. Next week we'll do part 2. Before we share our thoughts on the first 3 episodes, I want to hit you with some Ironheart facts. Released, like I said, June 24th, 2025. However, the show was filmed in 2022, which we'll probably talk about a little bit here once we get going. Again, 6 episodes. It is the 13th series in the MCU. Although I've seen some places say it's the 14th, but they count Spider-Man. You're from the neighborhood Spider-Man, which is not MCU. So I'm like, if you count that, why wouldn't you count X-Men 97? I don't get that. So
Yeah.
but no, straight up, it's the 13th MCU series, and it's the conclusion of Phase 5 because Phase 6 kicks off in literally a month with the Fantastic Four First Steps, which we'll be talking about the trailer. The final trailer dropped today. We'll be talking about that here in a little bit. Back to Ironheart. It was created by Chinaka Hodge. She's the showrunner / head writer. One of the executive producers is Ryan Coogler. So obviously, Ryan Coogler of Black Panther fame, of Sinners fame, of Creed fame. And then the cast includes Dominique, Thorne, Anthony Ramos, Lyric Ross, Alden Ehrenreich, Regan Ali, Manny Montana, Matthew Elam, sorry, and Anji White. Brittany, what'd you think about Ironheart, the first 3 episodes overall?
Overall, I'm enjoying it. I was really surprised how much I was going to enjoy it because, for one, to me, and Justin, I think you would agree, when almost like the entire show or maybe parts or half of a show is dropped all at once, it doesn't really give you a good impression that the show is good or that there's things of that nature. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It just kind of varies. Andor, for example, had a really weird schedule when it was dropping on Disney Plus. It was like the first 2 or 3 episodes, and then it was episodic, and then halfway through was another 3 episodes. It's very strange, very, very strange. Not sure why they decided to schedule it the way they did. However, because Ironheart is only 6 episodes, we got half now, half later. And for the first half that we got, mind you, the episodes are not incredibly long at this time. It told a really good story. We haven't seen Riri Williams since Black Panther Wakanda Forever. It picks up immediately from the last time we saw her. She is a student at MIT, but she's run into some financial issues, and you really get to see her origin story, I guess you could say. And it's pieced together extremely well. I think it's beautiful storytelling. It's very sad to know and to learn her background, and then also what she's doing now that, spoiler, she's back at home in Chicago, which is also kind of cool that we're getting our first character in the MCU that's not either in New York or California. This is Chicago, Illinois. Like, I think that's pretty cool. You got someone, right in the middle of the country. And I really love the characters. I think even like the minor characters that we get have great comedic timing. The music is fire, in my personal opinion. I think it's great. I love the crew that is part of the Hood's crew. We'll talk a little bit more about them later as well. I'm totally loving the vibe. I'm loving the storytelling. And the 3rd episode definitely left you on a cliffhanger that I'm like, oh my God, if they had dropped all the episodes yesterday, I would have watched them all yesterday because I was so hooked. The first 2 episodes obviously build the foundation and her story. And then that 3rd episode just really was like, wow, wow, we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly, it's really good. All I'd heard about the show is the fact that they've held on to it. It was filmed in 2022. Obviously they delayed bringing it out. It easily could have probably come out in late 2023, anytime 2024. They were kind of holding it till now, and the characters are great. The actors are really good. I mean,
Mhm.
the story, like you said, like I'm not a binger. Like I don't enjoy this release. That's probably I have two. That's probably my main gripe is the fact that they dropped. The fact that Disney did this where they dropped 3 at a time over 2 weeks shows they don't have a lot of confidence in the show,
Yeah.
or just shows they wanna just get it out there and be done with it because, like, obviously
They
Superman
waited 3 years.
but Superman's coming up 2 weeks. Fantastic Four is literally a month away,
Yeah,
and obviously this show's gonna get swallowed up by those 2, giant properties as far as, like, online space and, like, in people's minds, even like, comic book fans are not gonna care about this show once those movies hit, but,
sadly.
I wish they would've released the show, like, weekly, episodic release at some other time of the year. I think it would've worked well. I mean, I think this show is much better than the previous Marvel show we talked about, Daredevil Born Again. Like you said, there were 3 episodes they dropped, and I would've watched episode 4 if it was available. So, the show's off to a really good start. I like the characters. I mean, it's a fun show so far, like, and no complaints except for just Disney's weird release schedule, which you were talking about Andor. Andor season 2, they had 12 episodes. They dropped them in 4 3-episode chunks.
It was
So,
weird.
but apparently that was because in Andor, every third or the 3 episodes were all like took up like a year or a decade or something. It was like a time period thing before
Yeah,
they went on to another time period. So,
yeah,
uh, yeah,
yeah. Shout out to those in today's chat. We presently have Trisha joining us. She says, I've only watched the first 2 episodes, so I'll dip at some point, but I'm loving the show so far. I agree with Justin. The
yeah,
release schedule is so weird. Also, shout out to King B. Johnson and Yesenia, who are, again, with us in today's live chat. And we encourage everyone else who may be watching us live or watching the replay to join us for our live chats in the future. We would love to have you here, have your feedback, your comments, your engagement. It makes podcasting that much more fun because we're answering your questions and comments in real time. So if you haven't done so already, give us a subscribe, hit the like button, hit that notification bell as well. And Justin, let's like really get into
yeah.
Ironheart.
So we're talking about the first 3 episodes. So the titles of the episodes are the first episode, Take Me Home. Episode 2 is Will the Real Natalie Please Stand Up? And episode 3 is We in Danger, Girl, which was actually a line used in the episode.
Hmm.
So let's talk about episode 1. What I love about this show right off the jump is like, you know what? If you're in the MCU, make MCU references. And they hammer home the fact that Tony Stark, Tony Stark, Pym, like they say a lot of key words. And I appreciate that. Like,
Yeah.
like make us feel like it's a part of the same world, even though obviously this show is coming out in our world, 17 years after the first Iron Man,
Yeah.
5 or 6 years after Iron Man's death in Endgame. So,
Yeah.
but I
For
do
sure.
appreciate the callbacks to Tony Stark. I mean, and throughout, and we're gonna get into
Hmm.
more of that. But that was a good start for me. Like, let's talk about the characters that we love. Let's connect it to the stuff we saw before, and that's to me that's a smart way to start the show.
I agree. And with that being said, Justin, spoilers for those
Yeah,
who have
of
not
course.
watched all 3 episodes.
Yeah,
Trisha, I'm looking at you, girl, because from the top, I did not expect that character twist or character reveal of of
yeah,
one Joe McGillicuddy, which,
yeah,
by the way, that last name always makes me smile because it's one of those like far-fetched names that you would never believe is actually someone's last name, but it's
yeah.
just so, I don't know, it's so funny to me. But that being said, Joe is not Joe.
Right,
Joe is Ezekiel.
right.
And who else in the MCU do we know that had a very unique name in the first installment of what would end up being the MCU?
His probably most famous quote was Tony.
Tony.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, the fact that Joe slash Ezekiel, I'm gonna call him Zeke, um,
yeah.
is Obadiah Stane's very what's the word I'm looking for? They didn't have a good relationship, so estranged son. I guess is the one I'm looking for. Yeah, I did not see that coming. Also, it took me it took me watching all 3 episodes to realize who the actor was. I'm like, I've seen this face before. I know I've seen this face before. It took me a second. By a second, I mean 3 episodes.
Yeah.
He was the young Han Solo in Solo. And
Solo
I'm like,
was good, by the way.
Solo was good. I thought Solo was great.
People didn't go see it. People didn't like it, and like I liked Solo a lot. I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot better than some of these sequels, but hey, it is what it is. So, bye Trisha. I know you've already probably left because I've just like gave us major spoiler, but hope you come back. We'd love to hear your thoughts. That being said, yeah, I did not see that coming because just the very minimal clues about how he didn't have a great relationship with his dad, or he hardly had a relationship with his dad.
Yeah.
But he wanted to be better than his dad, and therefore he has like this interest in like biotechs. And
instead of like weapons of war, he wants to, help humanity by using tech, whereas his dad was, an arms dealer. So
exactly. So kind of doing the same thing, but just with a different purpose, I guess you could say, wanting to build, but like you said, do good instead of causing harm. And the very idea, that he still keeps Obadiah close. And by close, I mean in the kitchen.
Yeah.
In a Ziploc bag.
Yeah, his
Who
remains.
does that?
Yeah, he does.
Who does that?
No, it's a little strange. I mean, obviously it was funny because on the Ziploc bag it said Obadiah S, and it's like, yeah.
Who does that?
I did like when Riri was like, Obadiah, very very unique name. He's like, no, it's very common. Very common. Whatever he said.
Yeah, very extremely common,
Yeah, but we'll build up to that. Let's start with the first episode though. Take Me Home. As you kind of mentioned before, Riri is back at MIT and she's trying to make money by basically doing other students' work and creating all kinds of cool stuff for these other kids.
Selling completed work.
Right.
Wow.
She gets in trouble. She gets expelled from MIT.
Yikes.
And she needs money. But on her way out, she manages to cobble together her suit and fly away, which the suit looks great.
Yeah.
I think the suit looks much better than it did in the movie.
Yeah.
And the suit looks cool. And as
for the time that we saw it.
Yeah. As she's heading to Chicago, her AI, which we'll talk about her new AI here in a second, her AI cuts off and her suit goes into like crash mode. Yeah, powers down. She crash lands on a street and we get the aerial shot where it spells out Ironheart, which I thought was really cool.
That was very creative.
In episode 3, there's one of those kind of scenes where they spell out Ironheart, but I don't think episode 2 had that. I don't remember.
No, episode 2 had the street sign that said Ironheart Avenue.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. I did notice that, but I didn't I wasn't comparing it to the other two. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah, I like how they just do those title cards because I was like, not necessarily every show needs title cards of some kind of thing, but I think the creative aspect of her crash landing into the pavement of Chicago, like, there's already potholes and wear and tear, but the whole lot of it is Ironheart, and she and her suit make the letter A, and then you see someone on a bike come around like, get off the street, and it's like, dude, really? And I had to remind myself that this is a world where aliens, wizards, androids, and things of what she's wearing is a norm in our world, right? It's completely bonkers, but in that world, it's like he doesn't give it 2 thoughts. He's like, just get out of the street. I thought it was funny. Made me laugh.
And so back in her hometown, we get her backstory because in Wakanda Forever, she's just this like whiz kid, this tech genius, this like, however young she is, like 15 or whatever age.
So she graduated high school at like
11, I think
9 or 11. And then she went on to MIT at like 15, 16, let's say. She's probably about like 20.
Okay.
I'd want to say. She's very young. I mean, she's a big deal in her neighborhood. Obviously, like there's newspaper clippings that hang framed in a junkyard, where she gets her resources, if you will. And for someone who is a woman of color, who, again, she has a very sad like origin story, if you will, but I think it's really empowering that they've decided to highlight a character. And I haven't read the comics, so I don't know if how close her character is to the comics. But I really love how they're highlighting a minority female who, yes, has had a very sad and tragic like childhood upbringing, what have you, but she is making a name for herself, doing something incredible. And the reason that, the question is, well, why did you build the suit? Her response is always, because I can, and I think that's really cool. And I think that's like a really powerful answer to give to people, when people are trying to knock you down because of your background and because of where you grew up and this kind of thing. I know I've had it. I know I've had people tell me I wasn't going to be successful in life, but it's like, that's fuel. That's fuel to tell yourself, I can do this. I'm going to do this. And Riri Williams does it. So, and I think it's a really great message.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned her tragedy. We find out pretty quickly that she is grieving the deaths of her best friend, Natalie Washington, and her stepfather, Gary. They're both killed in a drive-by shooting.
Yeah.
There'll be more about that later on as we continue, but that's part. And in fact, the series opens with a video of her and her friend, Natalie. They're kind of joking around. And obviously you can kind of tell, like, okay, this girl died or something happened to her, because, the way the somber kind of tones to it. But, she's back in Chicago and needs money.
As you do.
Yes, as you do. And she gets recruited by this guy named John, who is a part of a gang and the head of that gang is a guy by the name of Parker Robbins, also known as the Hood, played by Anthony Ramos. What do you think about Anthony Ramos so far in this show, and especially like his entrance in the show?
I love seeing Anthony Ramos in a more, I definitely won't say anti-hero. I definitely will say more criminal villain sort of vibe, because the first time I saw Anthony was in Hamilton, and I was incredibly impressed because I love a man who can sing. Let's just be real. That's just a great quality for me. And I think the next thing I saw him in was one of the Transformer movies, the latest one, I believe.
Yeah, Rise of the Beast, I think. Yeah.
Sure. Well, you could say whatever you want. I'm just going to agree with you because I don't know the titles.
Yeah.
But I thought he was great in that movie. I don't particularly care for the Transformer movies, at least like these later editions. But I thought he was great. I thought he has like great charisma and like comedic timing and what have you. And in this role as Parker Robbins, aka the Hood, he is a leader. He is someone who has a mission and he expects that mission to be fulfilled. And when someone is not able to perform their part well, he is now looking like, he looks to someone else like, hey, we need to get someone else so we can get the job done, because he's determined.
Yeah.
But, he's also got charisma, and I can't recall any like comedic moments really, but he has a presence, and I enjoyed watching him do his thing. And there's still a lot of questions I have about the character of the Hood, because I think, according to Frank, who is our comic book avid comic book reader on the pod, he himself is not too familiar with the Hood, because I think the Hood is like a more recent character in the Marvel comics. So I'm really interested to know what Parker's origin story is, how he came to having the Hood in his possession, and who is speaking to him through those dark whispers, and the images that he's seeing before him in that final part of the third episode.
Yeah, and like you said, he has a magical hood, and the question is, who is powering that hood? And I think we know the answer. It's pretty heavily been teased or mentioned online. I think we'll wait till next week to talk about it. But
Yeah. No spoilers, people. No
yeah,
spoilers.
it's a character that has been mentioned a lot in the Marvel television shows that people have wanted to see.
Yeah.
The character was actually referenced on Agatha all along. So I think that's what we're gonna get. I don't know, like once we get it, if we're gonna be like, oh, that was cool. I mean, I don't know, like
I just hope the explanation is
yeah,
executed well.
yeah.
And I kind of have I quote me. I have faith that they will, just given the first 3 episodes that we've been given thus far, and I feel more so because we have Ryan Coogler who has a hand in this project,
Mhm.
that it's being treated with the utmost care. And I feel like with Ryan as part of the storytelling process, I think he and the showrunner have done like just an excellent job with fleshing out these characters and the storyline, and we still like I want more is my point, and I
Yeah.
don't usually get that a lot with a lot of these MCU TV series or yeah TV series. This is going very well so far.
Yeah, it's a really solid cast. Obviously Dominique Thorne is the standout, her and Anthony Ramos, and I think the scenes with Dominique Thorne and Alden Ehrenreich are the best, honestly. They're the way they bounce off each other, they're so different that it
Yeah,
works so well.
yeah.
But there's a couple other actors that I wasn't familiar with, and one of them is seems like it's gonna be Riri's like love interest, or at least love interest to be right now.
Hmm.
That's Natalie's brother, named Xavier. What do you think about this character and this actor? The actor is Matthew Elam. I wasn't familiar with him. I don't think I've ever seen him before. What do you think about the chemistry we have between these characters? Whereas, Natalie is his dead sister and Natalie was her best friend.
It's very I want to say trope like,
Yeah.
because it's almost very cliche and very common where you you as a young woman have another young woman as a best friend. She's got a either an older brother or brother close in age. It doesn't really matter, but because you're around your best friend so much, you're always around the brother, and inadvertently you're going to develop some kind of feelings, and that might blossom, that might not, but it's very cliche. Like I said, I don't have a problem with it. I don't hate it. I feel like he will be her voice of reason in episodes to come because he's already shown his interest. He's already shown
Yeah.
his sort of protective side, right? That
Right.
like, hey, the crew that you're running with, very shady. Like this might not end up being a good thing for you. So, those little hints the here and there, but I'm not familiar with the actor at all, Matthew Elam, but I like the vibe again. I think he's playing that very sweet
Yeah.
uh, brother who of course misses his sister, but he's found some sort of solace in his deceased sister's best friend
Yeah.
because they both are sharing the same like grievances, I guess you could say. And you lean on another person like that because you both have a common understanding.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, I kind of like the family dynamic stuff
Oh
better
yeah,
than I
it's
like
so
the
good.
yeah, I like that stuff better than Parker Robbins' gang. I like Parker Robbins. I think that's a cool character
Yeah.
to explore, but the gang
It's just a
so
different dynamic.
yeah, yeah, it is, and I mean, it's not bad, it's just not as
Yeah.
good as the family stuff, and to me, that's then you throw in Alden Ehrenreich with her, and it just, like then you get more MCU tie-ins, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as we move on, but, like, to me, that's where the show really hits, and the action stuff with Parker's gang is it's okay, but it's like the action for action's sake in a lot of ways, in my opinion. But
Mhm.
speaking of Parker's gang, so they their tech whiz is a guy named Rampage, a guy named Stewart, who wants to be called Rampage, played by Eric Andre, the comedian,
Yeah.
and he messes up a couple times too many. They
Yeah.
decide to replace him. I mean,
Mhm.
later on, we learned that they killed him. But so Riri is the replacement for Rampage, and because she's a tech whiz, and also she comes with an iron suit. So bonus. That's a
Yeah.
pretty good feather in her cap is to have that flying suit.
Yeah.
So we have Riri joining the gang, and she knows she's not doing the right thing, but she needs the money. And Parker Robbins kind of appeals to her by saying, you want to do something great, you want to be iconic, and no one who's ever become iconic, followed the rules. Basically, they always had to like do their own thing and break out. I'm kind of paraphrasing what he said,
Yeah.
but that kind of convinces her in the moment, and the money, obviously, that
Of course.
she'll join his gang. And before like their first big mission, she's got to get her suit ready for the next day. So she's working on her suit, and the main thing she's trying to come up with an AI to help her out. And she's had this kind of, she's back at her mom's house. Her and her mom talk about, their grief and having lost, the mom's, the stepdad and Natalie in the drive-by shooting. And Riri's, kind of distraught, kind of grieving. And while she's like uploading, her consciousness or whatever, she's brain mapping her AI, and she creates a special AI. She creates Natalie, which
Mhm.
stands for Neuro Autonomous Technical Assistant and Laboratory Intelligent Entity, which looks
Say
like
that 10
her
times fast.
exactly. And Natalie looks, of course, like her friend Natalie, because she was thinking about her friend Natalie, or dreaming about her friend Natalie, as the brain mapping was happening. And I thought that was really creative, because Natalie, when we meet her as the AI, she's this hologram, and you're like, oh, they brought her to life, because in the comics, Riri Williams, you know who her AI is, Brittany?
No.
Tony Stark. Yeah, Tony Stark is her AI in the comics. So,
Oh,
yeah, so a lot of people,
okay.
whenever Riri Williams was first cast, people were like, "Oh, are they going to get Downey Jr. to be her AI? Because that'd be really cool way
Ah,
to have him continue to be a part of the MCU." Yeah,
got it.
that's not what happened, obviously,
Mhm.
but it's still a very cool idea. And speaking of
No,
Robert
yeah.
Downey Jr., I saw that King B. Johnson had a comment about that a little bit ago, and I
Yeah.
wanted to point out that like Robert Downey Jr. has posted several times on social media, like kind of like looking forward to passing the torch to Dominique Thorne. And
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he's deep involved in shooting Avengers Doomsday right now, but I
Yeah.
think it's cool that I mean, I'm sure he's paid to do that, but I think it's cool that he does kind of lend his name and like kind of give her that rub where it's like literally a passing of the torch from Iron Man to Ironheart. So
Yeah.
that's cool to see.
No, I think it's incredible, especially with the name of RDJ and him being at the head of bringing the MCU to life, really. And it's quite the honor, I'd imagine. I saw the
Yeah.
video, of course, that RDJ had posted on Instagram, and I want to call her Riri. Hello, Dominique was just like so excited
Yeah.
to FaceTime him and just be excited about the show in general. And I love the support that RDJ offers to uh, his fellow MCU colleagues. So yeah, no, I think that's really sweet. I think that's great.
Yeah. So we're now in the second episode, which is titled "Will the Real Natalie Please Stand Up?" Referencing Natalie, the AI, which I thought was really cool. I thought it was cool how she's a
Mhm.
hologram, how she put her in like her laptop, and like the AI tries to escape the laptop and get back to Riri.
Yeah.
Um, I was really impressed with that part of it. I thought that's a really creative way to bring her friend back, and to have that, also like you said, the brother is like kind of like, Xavier, he's like her, the good angel or whatever, like the voice of reason in her head. Well, now she
Yeah.
also has another one of those who's her best friend. So
Yeah.
I thought it was a really cool way. What did you think about the AI Natalie?
Well, it's nice to actually have a face to an AI
Yeah,
because even with Tony Stark, it was just always a voice with Jarvis
right.
and Edith and Friday and what have you. It's always been a voice. And now you actually have a visual to accompany that voice. And for Riri to have created this AI through her brain waves, right? Because when we're watching this program load into the computer, it's going to take hours. It's moving very slow, but you've got these little, I don't know what they're called, the wires that are connected to her forehead for,
Are they temporal or something maybe?
temporal something or
Yeah,
other. Yeah.
yeah,
Anyway, but she's there. She kind of nods off because she's tired, understandably so. But to project and create a like image of your deceased best friend, whom I'm sure being back home is bringing up all the feelings. You know, you go visit the place where they were unfortunately killed at, murdered, and you see a mural of the two on the side of the wall, and that brings up a lot of feelings. And it's, Natalie is on Riri's mind, and she ends up creating her into this holographic AI, which, yeah, that would startle the mess out of me, of course. But in a weird way, it's almost like when Tony created that, what did he ended up calling it? Fart?
No,
Acronym?
barf.
Barf.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said fart. Sorry. But the really terrible acronym, where he has like this holographic uh, scene of playing out the last time he would ever see his parents again, and it's supposed to be like meant for therapy and blah 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 blah. But it's very like similar in this fashion, right? It's not intentional. Well, maybe it is, but it kind of serves that same purpose. I would think that you are having to absolutely face one of your deepest, darkest tragedies.
Yeah.
And it seems that Riri deals with it by not dealing with it, but now she's like forced to deal with it because Natalie, as an AI, because she is born of Riri's brainwaves, memories, and things like that, Natalie possesses all of these memories that Riri has, and brings up past events as if she's not even real. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's like, "Oh, do you remember that time when blah 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 blah?" And it's like, how would you know that? Right? But it's like, but she's born of your mind and your memories. And I think that's just very well. I think it was just done well to kind of explain that without explaining it, but it's explained.
Yeah, because it's not like Natalie's consciousness. It's
Yeah.
Riri's memories of Natalie mixed with like
Yeah.
photos and videos that she found on the laptop. So
Mhm.
yeah, she does mention like there are gaps in my memory, and she's like, well, it's understandable because it's not actually her memory. It's
Exactly.
Riri's memory of the person. So yeah, I really like the AI. I think the actress is great. Lyric Ross.
She's hilarious.
I'm not super familiar with her either, but I thought
Mm-mm.
she was awesome. So great casting once again. So in this episode, Riri joins up with Parker's crew, and the first thing they're doing, they're gonna try to take out this company called Tunnel, which is also an acronym, TNNL. And Tunnel's goal is to turn Chicago's tunnels into a private highway, which I don't really understand how that would work because Chicago's like Houston is a massive city, and like how many private highways could you possibly create? I mean,
Well, only the elite, I'm
the
sure, would
very
be
yeah,
able to afford that.
but even the elite, there's a lot of rich people in Chicago. Like that
Fair.
to me, that would be I don't even understand how that would exactly work. But yeah, so their goal is they're trying to sabotage what Tunnel's doing and basically, like hostile takeover style, like get money from this company. But Natalie, she's working on her suit still. Suit's not ready. And or, I'm sorry, not Natalie. Riri's suit's not ready. So she uses Natalie to try to find like a place where she can get parts. And that's how we find Joe McGillicuddy because he is this guy who collects or has a bunch of you know
Black
weapons,
marketed.
black market items, and I do like how he has the live laugh love sign like in two different places in his he has it at his house in
Yeah.
Chicago or in the Chicago area, and then
Mhm.
in his bunker, which we see a little bit later on. But yeah, really good stuff. I like I said, I really enjoyed
Mhm.
the scenes between Riri and Joe slash Ezekiel.
Yeah, no, I think it's great because he seems like this very kind of typical shy, very introverted guy
Yeah,
because the first introduction to seeing him, he's trying to confront his neighbor whose dog has taken a dump
yeah,
on his lawn. And he's like, "Hey, hope you're doing well. Like, is by chance can you not have your dog come poop on my side?" Oh, she's making up all these excuses. I'm not even going to go into it, but he just does not assert himself. Like he is just a very like, okay, like he doesn't want to rock the boat, non-confrontational kind of guy, which is, very common for society these days. And Riri kind of like empowers him to, in a way, through bullying, to stand up for yourself, like assert yourself, like you're a person, you have feelings, you're entitled to XYZ. And he takes that to heart at the end of this episode, because he, unfortunately, as he's throwing away that live laugh love sign, whatever, he ends up stepping into that poop that had not been picked up, and that kind of triggers something in him. He goes inside, walks across the street to the neighbor's yard and starts clipping away her prized black-eyed Susan, which are flowers, and he just doesn't give an F anymore. Like I thought that was hilarious. But I like their banter and their dynamic, just how opposite obviously they are, because he's so concerned. Okay, first of all, he collects all these things, but he's never used them. Like he just has this converted silo that houses all of his black marketed items, doesn't do anything with them because he's just scared, I guess you could say. He doesn't want to be like his dad, aka Obadiah.
The reason why he has those items is because he wants to feel closer to his father. That's what he says.
True.
Right.
True. But he also doesn't want to be his father.
Right. But so when they said that about the weapons and his father, I already knew who it was, because I didn't know they were trying to swerve the audience, because if you go back to even January of this year, we did a podcast where we talked about everything superhero related that was coming up this year. And I mentioned in that podcast that it was supposed to be Obadiah Stane's son. And so I was surprised whenever I saw
that, but yes.
I was surprised when I saw that the character that Alden Ehrenreich was playing is Joe McGillicuddy. I'm like, or I guess they're trying to do like a surprise thing, or the information I heard about him being Obadiah Stane's son was total garbage. But once he was like, yeah, my dad was a weapons manufacturer and arms dealer, I was like, okay, I know where this is going. So,
and see, I think I missed that line. Like, I know I was watching it, and I was surprisingly really not on my phone, because as of late I've found myself on my phone watching these shows. But I must have missed that line, or it just happened so quickly that I didn't put two and two together. Because if you think about it, my God, from this point in time, Iron Man was 17 years ago. And you just don't think of those kind of characters anymore, because they perished in their movie, and you don't think of them having a family or a child or someone else. And it's just like, oh, okay. Like, didn't see that coming. I vaguely remember the pod where you mentioned this. Sorry, no disrespect.
Yeah, it's okay. No, I mean,
but it definitely,
it
definitely was like an oh crap kind of moment for me.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I end up finding out a lot of stuff, hearing a lot of rumor stuff, because I'm interested in this stuff. So I kind of go looking for it. Sometimes it comes and finds me, though.
But then you get upset when you get spoiled. And it's like, well, you do this to yourself.
Yeah, but I kind of know like the line, like you don't want to cross the line too much. But no, this is what I heard for so long, and so I was surprised that they were trying to like trick us. But I like it. I think it probably worked on a lot of people who watch the show. I hope the show has a big audience. I don't know that it will, but it's deserving. It's a very good show so far. I'm enjoying it.
I think it is, but I think there are a lot of people out there who are very critical.
I mean, there were people who were review bombing it on Rotten Tomatoes before it came out. So I mean, that's the kind of stuff where it's like,
which is funny because
loser behavior, because like, and honestly, Rotten Tomatoes shouldn't allow that. Like, they shouldn't allow you to comment until the show actually is available to the public. Because these weren't critics. These weren't like influencers who are going out here ripping the show. These are just random losers who just, they see, a show with the black girl as the lead. Oh, well, gotta trash that. Like, that's just loser stuff.
But which is funny because the overall rating of the show is very low, but the individual episodes are being rated, I won't say extremely high, but like they're doing 70% and somewhere in that figure, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, how can the overall show be trash, but like the episodes are like the math's not mathing, people. And I'm not a math person, but like the math's not mathing.
Yeah, I mean, the ratings things I've talked about before, they're
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's all subjective, and because there are people who review bomb stuff both ways,
Hmm.
they're super positive because they're on one side of the argument, or they're super negative because they're on the other side of the argument. That's why I think you should just throw out Rotten Tomatoes. Like, no offense to the company, do whatever you want to do. Like, I mean, I think maybe the critic score is what you should look at, but even that, it's so silly because like it's not like a critic goes, "This movie was pass or fail." There's like a gray area where people talk about like movies and shows, and they don't just go, "Yeah, I rated it 5 out of 10 or whatever." Usually
Yeah.
they don't go by that scale, but the
Yeah.
way Rotten Tomatoes works is if they deem it a favorable review, that's obviously positive.
Right.
So, like whenever a show has like 70% positive, that doesn't mean that, everyone loves the show. That means that they gave it a passing 70% of the critics who reviewed it gave it like a passing grade, which again, that's determined by the site, I guess, or someone because that's arbitrary also. So
Yeah.
you can't really get too in the weeds with the Rotten Tomato scores. So
Yeah. Quickly, Justin, King Matt the God joining us in our live chat. Thank you so much for being here.
yeah.
Says, I like it so far, episodes 1 through 3. Good, because we do
Yeah.
too.
We're in the same boat. Yeah, it's a good show.
It's a
I
good
mean,
show.
it's solid, and like I said, I would have watched episode 4 if it were available, and
Yeah, for
I'm not a
sure.
binger, I really don't, and
He's not.
that's my other gripe with the show, like, to me, if you're gonna have a show and you're gonna drop 3 episodes, then just drop it at 12:01 that day and give
Yeah,
people all day long to watch it, because for us
agreed.
here in Houston, it dropped at 8 o'clock. 3 episodes, they're kind of like 45 minutes to 50 minutes, like,
Yeah.
some of us work and have to get up in the morning, so it's like you can't maybe knock out 3 hours of TV that late at night. So,
Yeah.
I'd appreciate if you're gonna, like, do this, like, half binge thing, then just give it to us all day long.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, no, I'm a binger, so if they had dropped all 6, I probably would have really made an effort to watch all 6 just to be
Yeah.
in the know. But to going back to your point about Rotten Tomatoes, and then we'll move on.
Yep.
Everything is subjective, and everyone has a right to their opinion, but come with supporting evidence. Don't just
Right.
say, I don't like it because it's
Well,
different than XYZ, and like it again, this is where it's subjective, but like come with like supporting evidence of why something within the show is not working,
yeah.
or the storyline falls apart because XYZ. You see what I'm saying? So like that's just, but I'm a critical thinker. Okay. I don't accept what I see and say that's the end all be all. I'm a deep dive. Like I analyze things
Yeah.
probably way too much, but that's just me. Okay. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna hold that standard to like everyone else. But if you're just gonna be like rating something because you don't like the actor, or you don't like uh I don't know, some
The the
menial
the
aspect of
MCU that everyone talks about, it's like, okay. Okay.
yeah, like
Like,
just stop. Just
more than
stop.
half of the population is female. Like, they're obviously trying to get to a different demographic because they
Yeah.
have another demographic well in hand. It's just the
Yeah.
fact that, like, it's like, don't be mad because they're more capitalist than you're comfortable with them being, and that's true. That's truly what it is. Like,
Yeah.
they're trying to go for everybody. That's what
Yeah.
they've always done. That's what every company tries to do. So,
Mhm.
the people who get upset about that stuff, it's like you're just a moron. You don't understand how the world works. I mean, you really don't. Like, you're playing for a team that doesn't know you're on their team. That's
Yeah.
that's the truth.
Well, King Matt the God also says, I like the scene where the suit saves her, meaning Riri,
Yeah.
from greenhouse, and the suit wraps around her to give her the suit. Yeah, I did. Yeah, we'll talk about that momentarily. But I think kind of to that point, the visuals
Yeah.
look good,
Yeah.
which is not something I can say for every single Disney Plus show.
Yeah.
Justin and I talked offline, uh, comparing this show to Daredevil, Born Again, a show that I was so excited
Yeah.
to watch because of how much I loved Charlie Cox and Matt Murdock as Daredevil. And then it just didn't look good. It didn't have the same presence. It didn't have the same feel. It just just did not resonate. Whereas this show that I know nothing about, right? I don't know about the characters, don't know, storylines, don't read the comics. I'm in. And everything, like the sets, whether it's on location or on a soundstage or what have you, like the sets, the casting, even that little kid who was helping her carry her suit. I think his name is Landon or something. That kid's funny. Like, and if that's like the essence of Chicago neighborhoods, like, yo, I'm gonna get along with these people. Like this is awesome because in ways it reminds me of where I grew up. But that kid is funny to me. Riri tries to bargain with him, saying like, "Hey, let me borrow your wagon," and he's like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "I'll give you $20." He goes, $20 in this economy?
Yeah.
I was like, "Bruh, come on."
Yeah, no, the kid's funny. He was a funny addition to the show.
Yeah. King Matt the God says, "Yeah, the CGI was okay compared to Wakanda Forever. Horrible suit CGI." I'm gonna have to take your word on that because it's been a minute since I've seen Wakanda Forever. A lot was obviously happening in that movie. Lots of CGI and what have you, but I still love the movie. I think the movie is great for its own right. But in comparison, this show I think just looks really, really good. I'm just really disappointed that it took so long for them to finally release the show, and then they're releasing it the way that they are. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get back to talking about the episode.
Yeah, let's wrap up episode 2. So a big part of episode 2 is the fact that while Riri is off talking to Joe and meeting with him about in his silo with his black market items, she has left her AI Natalie trapped in her computer and her devices at home. Natalie finds a way out. Then she kind of stumbles upon Riri's mother, Ronnie, which obviously, Ronnie, she was a part of what happened, obviously, with losing her husband and Riri's best friend. So then she kind of connects with Natalie. And then later on, I like how
it's just girl talk. It's great.
Yeah, but it's obviously a very sad moment when when the mother confronts Riri and is like, "Hey, I met Natalie," and she's talking about how realistic she is. And she's like,
incredible.
Could you create one for Gary?" And then she says, she can't. And
so sad.
Pretty sad stuff, but very well played by all the actors. And yeah, like I said, I like the family stuff in the show more than I like the actiony stuff, which is kind of different for me. But I do enjoy, I enjoy a mixture of the two, and we do get that. I mean, there's a lot of action in this show so far.
Yeah,
I mean, through 3 episodes. I mean, episodes 2 and 3 are pretty action heavy, honestly.
Yeah, I like seeing how even though clearly Riri has not dealt with her trauma, her family is aware of it. And I say her family outside of her mother. Like when we first see her mother, she's doing someone's hair, and there's a bunch of other women in there, and they know Riri clearly, right? They know now that she's been expelled from MIT. She's back home. She is cared for. She is loved. She is someone who matters, right? And I think that's beautiful to see that too, with in a way, because Disney now owns the Marvel Studios and what have you. Disney is kind of honing in on that like family dynamic. We're family friendly, blah 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 blah, and you kind of get to see that a little bit. I don't think that's like the intent, but it's just I'm drawing parallels. But opposite of seeing Riri with her family, now we're seeing Riri with, I won't quite say a family with, the Hood and his crew and what have you, but the dynamic is, it's just polar opposite of how close people are for actual love versus the love for monetary things, right?
Yeah, because it's a band of misfits, basically. You've got the person who's from Madripoor, which is another reference to X-Men. You've got that's Slug, actually. And then you have Clown, who's a pyro specialist who plays a big part in episode 3. We talked about Stewart / Rampage, who doesn't make it very long.
Not long for this world.
Yeah. Then we have these like two, like, are they twins or whatever? The two sisters who were
I don't
they're
know if they're twins, but they are
yeah,
referred to as blood sibs or
yeah,
blood
yeah,
siblings or something along that line.
right. And then we get the cousin John, who is like
Mhm.
the most, close obviously with Parker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently a knives enthusiast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they all have like their special skill set. Slug. I absolutely love Slug. Slug is played by Shay Cooley. Pronouns she, they. Apparently, she's been on RuPaul's Drag Race.
Okay.
I love the vibe. I love the sassiness. Uh, I love everything about this character. It's just fun. It's different. I think it's cool that they've branched out to include uh, Shea Cooley as in the role of being like a hacker, which is just I think awesome to me. The blood siblings are blood sibs are more of like your fighter warrior
Yeah.
esque,
The muscle.
the
Yeah.
muscle. Thank you, I couldn't think of the word. And
Yeah.
then with clown, like you said, is the pyro tech enthusiast. But
Mhm.
each little quick background story of the crew members I thought was fun, especially with Clown because apparently she tried to. I don't know if she successfully tried to burn her ex fiance's car or something like that. And you just see like the match go into inside the car and then poof,
Yeah.
sort of situation. And then with John, not too much of a background story other than the fact that he is Parker's cousin, but we know literally nothing about Parker at this point, other than when he takes off his shirt, he's got like massive tattoos. It's almost tribal looking,
Mhm.
full sleeve on one side. It's covering his back. And John is the one who tattoos more because it appears to be trying to cover in the show is referred to as scales, but to me it looks more
Yeah.
like cracks,
To me, it looks
cracks.
like wiring. It looks like
It
he's like, yeah,
yeah, but it's hard for me to explain it. I wish I had a visual up here, but it to me it looks more like the skin is cracking
yeah,
or it, I don't know exactly what it is, but
I
it
mean,
clearly is because of the hood and wearing the hood, utilizing its powers because it is magic
right.
to a degree. But again, we know very little about Parker other than John, his cousin, found him when he was a kid, and that's about it.
Yeah. And, a big part of this show is the fact that you have tech, being Riri Williams, and you have magic, Parker
There you go.
Robbins, and putting them together. And one of Marvel's most famous characters that has a combination of both is Doctor Doom, who we're gonna get in Doomsday next December. So, or
Yep.
in yeah, December of 2026. So I'm not saying this show is going to directly lead into that, but there might be something from this show that kind of points to Avengers Doomsday. So just I think and maybe that's part of why they held the show. They might have reworked some stuff. I don't know,
It's very
but
possible. Yeah.
yeah. So that might be part of why we're seeing it now instead of maybe last
It's
year.
it's rumored that Ryan Coogler has said that much himself, but
Yeah.
I don't necessarily believe everything I see on the internet, social media, because that it's just the world we live in. Just because it's posted doesn't necessarily mean it's true or something can be taken out of
Well,
context. But it's
it,
it's a possibility.
it's one of those things where I think he was asked the question. He didn't come out and volunteer this information, so I think he was he's kind of playing the game because even in that quote, I saw the quote where he said, like, everything is leading up to Doomsday, which is probably going to be the biggest Marvel movie ever. And that was his part of his quote. So
Okay. Okay.
I don't, like I said, he didn't come out and like volunteer,
Grain of
like,
salt.
hey, yeah, it's like
Grain of
someone
salt.
asked, like, is there a tie in to this
Yeah.
show and Doomsday? And so
Gotcha.
I believe that there might be, but it's not going to be super overt. Like we're not getting Robert Downey Jr.'s Doom in a post credit at the end of
Or
this
or it's like a solid line.
season.
It's
Yeah.
probably gonna be more of a dotted line to
Yeah.
get Doomsday. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Exactly.
Got it.
So Riri's first mission with Parker's crew is successful. They get paid, which leads us to episode 3. We Endanger Girl. the episode opens. We talked about before with there's money flying everywhere because of their last mission, and the money spells out Ironheart, which I thought was really cool. And these,
Love that.
I'll be interested to see if they keep that going. I feel like they probably will. There's
Oh
only
yeah, for
three more
sure.
episodes, but I do like spelling out Ironheart with the money or like with the crash landing in episode 1. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that was a cool
yeah,
opener for sure. Hell, if I had that much money too,
yeah,
uh, I would just be like swimming in it. I'll be like, welcome, welcome to my room.
yeah. So as they're kind of like, bathing in cash and hanging out there, Riri has questions about Parker, and so do the other members of the gang, and it revolves around his hood. And we get Clown talking about how, she's tried to like crack the safe to get in there and get a hold of it. And then lo and behold, she does.
Mhm.
And that gives Riri an idea later on to like try to get a piece of that to kind of
Yeah,
figure out what's going on with the hood.
yeah, yeah. Interesting comments from Clown about wearing it, that it feels warm, but
Yeah.
not in the sense of like you yourself are hot by wearing it. It's just like the cloak itself or the hood itself is warm. So naturally for me, I'm a huge Doctor Strange fan. His cloak that he wears obviously grants him the ability to fly about, and it'll
Yeah.
save him from moments of difficulty. And I'm thinking, okay, is this something kind of that world where it's like sorcery, that kind of thing? But still, I'm not very clear about the hood, its origin, the magic it possesses, because Parker admits as much to Riri that the hood and it's magic. Like
Yeah.
literally it's magic. She's like, that's just a way of saying you don't know or something. Like
Right.
that's the go-to answer when you can't explain something. It's magic. And he's like, no, it like legitimately is. And that much is true because he, in the previous episode with their first heist, he was sitting in the back seat of the car of the person that they were trying to rob.
Mhm.
And I don't know if he's like holding his breath that allows him to be invisible with the hood, but you hear like this big exhale. And yeah, there's something, there's something.
Yeah. Something's going on. Something evil is in the
Something
works.
wicked this way comes. Not to quote Harry Potter, but I'm gonna quote Harry Potter
There you go.
because it's magic.
Yeah. So the next target in the next heist for the crew, or for Riri joining the crew, is they're going after this biotech firm, Heirloom, and it's kind of like this like what giant greenhouse basically, and
Yeah.
that's putting like farmers out of business because they're
Mhm.
doing everything inside the greenhouse. What do you think about this setting for this third episode, and the fact that with this heist, Riri can't wear the suit?
So, the first part.
Yeah.
At this point, it's like, why these targets specifically? And don't have an answer as of yet, obviously, because we don't know that much about Parker and the Hood. But he basically said something along the lines of it being like personal. So, unless it's something that's impacted him and his family, why he was found alone as a child by his cousin, you know what I'm saying? Like, did
Yeah.
something happen to his family by the hands of Heirloom and the CEO of Heirloom? Right? We don't know. We just assume. I'm assuming that um, there is a much deeper reason why he's gone after this particular guy. But then it made me wonder again with like Tunnel, what was the motive behind that, other than just a payday? It because they, other than just being big corpse, like it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense much. Like they're not, to me at least right now,
Well,
they don't feel connected.
I think the
But
connection is also, like you said, they're big corporations, but have put like, in for example, with the tunnel thing, it was like they were obviously impacting neighborhoods, right?
okay.
Because they're building
Well,
these private highways.
but it's not like this noble
Right.
cause of we're stealing from the rich to give to the poor. We're giving back to the community. It's like we're stealing from the rich to make ourselves rich. And it's just like,
but
when I hear the Hood or think of something like that, I think, Robin Hood, right?
Yeah.
Robin Hood stole from the rich and gave to the poor, but like, this is not a Robin Hood story.
But there is kind of a play on that because his name is Parker Robbins.
There is.
And he is the Hood. So
There
like
is.
there's something to that.
Yes, but definitely not serving the purpose that Robin Hood and his merry men served, right? It's all for self-gain, but it does seem deeply personal with Parker, because during the heist, he does have a one-on-one with the CEO who knows exactly who he is and knows exactly what he's trying to do, and just says, no, like, you and your little gang, like, get out of here. Like, just take what I'm offering and go. And Parker's like, no. So it's what has gone on in Parker's life that has caused him to come to this point. Or is it the whispers of the mysterious voice from the Hood that's, guiding him to do all these things?
Right. Is Parker settling the scores for someone else?
Is Parker in control of Parker?
Yeah. I don't know. I think we're going to find that out in the next episode. Certainly by the 5th episode. I've heard that we're going to find out the source of the power is got to be is going to be determined in episode 5.
So the other part, to answer the other part of your question about how, because this particular headquarters is so top security, high security, whatever, that any sort of metal is going to sound off the alarms. And what we find out is that it closes off any escape for whoever's inside. And so that presents a challenge for the crew, including specifically Riri, because she has her suit that she cannot like enter, right? She has to be sneaky about it.
Right.
They have to disarm the alarms and all this other stuff. It was a really interesting episode for sure. Very challenging, but Riri's going to get some help. She's going to get some help from an outside friend.
Yeah, she goes to Joe and she gets he's working on all kinds of things, but he has this like biomesh skin that can, conceal her, and she can use that to kind of make it through this greenhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And what'd you think about the scene where she goes to see Joe at his house and he's like got his arm cut open and he's like implanting something? It was like so freaky looking. Like I was like, what is going on?
You know what's hilarious at this point, and it just hit me as we're talking about it. His character name is Joe in the show. Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Earlier this season, we've covered the final season of You that was on Netflix, and there is a scene where Joe Goldberg slices his arm to insert a key that's supposed to help get him out of his glass cage, because somehow he knew he was going to end up inside the cage locked up, and he made an escape plan by cutting open his arm, putting his key in, and sewing it back up. That's just bonkers to me. Okay, sidebar. Yeah. Joe gets it in his head that he's actually going to utilize the equipment that he's ordered, on the black market. He's going to actually do good things with everything that he has, right? He's got blueprints. He goes to Riri's and like asserts himself and says, hey, you're going to help me with this. Be at my house at 6. Okay, bye. Thanks for telling me I need to stick up for myself. That was adorable. But for him to go to that measure, and I mean, anything could go wrong very, very quickly, right? So thankfully, Riri showed up. She is good at fixing things, right? She's a mechanic, or she's an engineer, very, very much like Tony, obviously. And this is where the two have like a really sweet heart to heart, where she is very vulnerable, tells him about her story, what her stepdad meant to her, and how he influenced her to basically be the person that she is today. Mm-hmm. And it allows Joe to see her probably in her truest form, not the Riri that we're seeing, obviously doing criminal things with the Hood's crew to just get a payday, right? And I thought that was a really, really great scene between the two.
Yeah, and
But
I like. Go ahead.
terrible. Like, no,
Yeah,
don't do that to yourself, people. Oh no.
Yeah. Also, like, why wasn't he like bleeding profusely? Like, that's
Unless he cauterized as he was
yes,
cutting his
yeah,
arm. I don't know. I'm not
yeah.
sure.
But during that
So,
conversation with the Riri and when we learn his name is Ezekiel, she talks about how Gary, her stepdad, was a big Iron Man fan. He was a big
yeah,
Tony Stark fan. So that's part of the motivation why she wanted to build an iron suit is
because she
because
can.
yeah, because she can, but also because like he was such a Stark fan and like,
Yeah.
his thing was, he was a mechanic and he said, the best way to learn how things work is to take something, take it apart, put it back together, which I
Yep.
think Tony Stark said something similar to that, or I've heard that. I thought I heard that in the MCU. I know I've heard that before,
I
period.
think
But
that I think that's just like a common kind
I
of
think so.
saying
Maybe so.
in
Okay.
general, but I wouldn't be surprised if it actually was mentioned
To,
in any of the Iron Man movies.
yeah. To me, I'm so engrossed in the MCU that I think it's like real life. Like my like memories of the movies have become like my memories. It's like like I remember First Avenger like it was yesterday. Like anyway,
So silly.
yeah. Moving on. We're in the greenhouse scene, and obviously it goes bad for the entire crew, but especially for John. He discovers what Riri's up to. She goes in there to get a piece of the the hood so she can analyze it, and John discovers this. She fights him off. He gets gassed and poisoned, and he dies while everyone else escapes.
Mhm.
Um,
Her laser underneath the skin
right.
mesh thingy, flies off her forearm, right?
Yeah.
Because again, you can't bring any foreign objects into the greenhouses without setting off the alarm, which yeah, every time she used that laser to try to get the sample of the hood's fabric, it was raising the levels, and therefore the alert of, or I'm sorry, the alarm going off as a result, as you do.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, John is killed or he dies in this in the in
Presumably?
yeah, I
Do
think
we
he
know that for
died.
sure?
Right. But then we
Okay.
get obviously Parker's distraught, losing his cousin in this heist gone wrong.
Mhm.
And Parker's like, blaming the hood, asking the hood what's going on, explain yourself. And the hood shows him a vision of John's death and how Riri had a hand in it,
Yeah,
which, great cliffhanger for next week.
for sure. And
But it could have been a great cliffhanger for week 3 going into week 4. Like, I feel like they should have done again, I'd prefer to talk about 1 episode at a time. I feel like it's
yeah,
more
it's great.
digestible. It's, we can really get
More
in there.
content for us.
Yeah, also, yeah, more content for us. It honestly just works better. And the
Yeah,
3 episode drop, I'm just not a fan of that,
yeah,
but I'm a fan of the show so far.
yeah. A couple of the things I wanna mention, Justin, too, throughout these episodes is that while Parker is having his sort of meltdown in the end, Riri is also having a meltdown because it's brought to her attention by Natalie that the laser and the skin mesh that is linked back to
Mhm.
Joe, whom she promised she wouldn't she wouldn't get him caught up in this mess, right? Now she's panicking, right? She rightfully is having like a panic attack and what have
Yeah,
you. She's spiraling, and it happened earlier in an episode where she and Natalie visit the auto shop where her stepdad had worked, and she's having a panic attack. But you while that's happening, you see Natalie glitching in the holographic form, and we saw that earlier in another episode where when an officer is pointing a gun
yeah,
at Natalie and Riri, that Natalie just completely glitches. Like she just goes completely still. And I don't think it's a result of the AI being glitchy. It's a result of Riri's PTSD, right? Her trauma that she has not dealt with because she clearly panics when she's in a situation
yeah,
that resembles the the drive-by and the deaths of her stepdad and her best friend, right?
yeah,
You just visually see that with Natalie glitching because if Riri's glitching, spiraling. Natalie is going to do the same because of the brainwaves. Going to the chat real quick. King Matt the God says, I like the AI brain scan to almost bring a dead loved one back to life and the real world implications of AI that the show makes you think of. Yes, sir. Okay. Say it louder for people in the back. My goodness.
I don't know that we're gonna have flying suits right away, but like having a dead loved one as your AI, like that probably is more possible than we probably could imagine.
Man, that would mess with my psyche so bad.
Yeah.
Nope, couldn't deal with it.
Yeah, I don't think that would be good for your brain to kind of
No.
deal with that kind of stuff every day
I personally don't think so.
And you see people like I know I've seen this a couple times online where someone will take a photo of like a loved one where they're hugging a loved one and they'll run it through not ChatGPT, but like Midjourney or something, and it'll animate the photo, like the person they're hugging their mother or something, and then their mother like kisses them on the cheek or like, and it's like, yeah, we don't need to do that kind of stuff. Like,
no, I can't do, and I speak as someone who does suffer from PTSD, right? And I think that's just too. It's too heavy. It's too much on your brain. It's too much on your heart. It's too much on your body. Like, it's just too much. I mean, yes, I'm sure people could benefit from things like that, but I feel like it would do more harm than good in the long run because that's just the nature of life. Like, this is very dark for me to say it this way, but like no one makes it out of this life alive anyway. And death, unfortunately, is a part of our natural life. And we have to learn to grieve those loved ones that leave us, right? And it's good for us to remember the good times. And yes, it makes us sad because they're no longer here. But like, I just don't feel that having an AI that resembles a loved one would be beneficial to someone's mental health and overall well-being. That's just me personally. I'm sure everyone's got different takes on that, and that's great. Like, you know, we're not here to shame you for thinking differently, of course. I just it just wouldn't do well for me personally. But it's an interesting avenue that they've decided to take with actually, as I mentioned earlier, giving a face to a voice of an AI, but it just so happens to be a loved one of Riri's.
No, it's a great idea for a superhero TV show, but to bring a character back,
not for real life.
Not for real life. Yeah, yeah. So, Brittany, any other final thoughts before we move on to the Fantastic Four trailer?
I will say to people, if you've watched this show, let us know in the comments down below what you think about the show overall. Thank you to everyone who has joined us for the live chat, of course. Shout out to King Matt the God, King V Johnson, Yesenia, and Trisha once again. We appreciate you being here, sharing your feedback. We would love for y'all to join us back again next week when we discuss part 2 of Ironheart. And for those who are watching the replay, like I said, leave your comments down below to let us know what you think about Ironheart. Do you enjoy the episodes or did it fall a little short? Give us supporting evidence as to why. But no, I say people give it a chance. Like, find out for yourself, give it a chance.
If you're going to review it, like watch it. That the first rule is like, at least watch it before you review it. That's all I'll say. So
for sure.
So today was also a big day because today's June 25th. Literally in 1 month, we get our next MCU film, start of phase 6 with the Fantastic Four First Steps. So they dropped the final trailer and we're going to watch it here. Now we're not going to have the audio. So we don't want to get in trouble, but we're gonna have it playing in the background while we talk about some of the moments because this is a pretty cool trailer. I thought it's the final one, and I think we got the most stuff, the most cinematic trailer I think thus far. So I'm gonna fire it up and we'll talk about it. Brittany, here we go. Some things I noticed, like obviously this one starts off they're doing a better job of introducing the characters. I mean, a lot of us know who these characters are, but we're really getting a literally like, oh, here's Reed in action. Here's Sue in action. You know, here's Johnny. You know, and then here's the thing. And
I love you, Johnny.
Yeah,
yeah, that was funny.
So what'd you think about this trailer?
So I've kind of got like nods of other MCUs. Like this scene that's playing out right now is a guy who's kind of like heckling the thing to like say the thing, say the line. He's like, no, it's only in the animation or only in the cartoon,
the
or
cartoon,
something like that. And I was like, oh, I'm like, wait a minute, are we breaking the fourth wall? And I'm like, wait a minute, no, maybe not. But he wants him to say it's clobbering time, which I thought that was pretty funny, because that is pretty like
well,
iconic.
it's not only that fan on the street, it's Johnny heckling him throughout the
Yes,
trailer, that we get
that's
several
true.
references like, "Hey, what time is it?" And at one point he says it's dinner time, and then at the end of the trailer he's like trying to get him as they're like falling from the sky to say
Yeah.
it's clobbering time. But the
Mhm.
reference that Ben makes by saying, "No, that's just in the cartoon," I think they're gonna show us this world where the Fantastic Four are so famous, so popular, they have their own
Yeah.
comic books, they have their own TV shows, their own
Oh, for
animated
sure.
series. They obviously, they're hawking products because we see Johnny's on a billboard for,
Mhm.
copper
Copper
tone,
tone.
suntan lotion. So,
Yeah.
so I think that's
Yeah.
the world we're creating here with the Fantastic Four First Steps.
I love that we actually get to see the car like flying, which
Cars in
looks
action, yeah.
really, really cool. The Silver Surfer, I
Yep.
know people have a lot of opinions about like the CGI regarding the look, but I mean,
I think I think it
I
looks
don't hate
better,
it.
though. I think
I
it
think
looks
it looks
better than
better.
the
I don't hate it for sure, but I think uh, in terms of this trailer, it's supposed to be the final trailer, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
They are giving us more, but then I as I was watching it right before we jumped on to this pod, I was starting to get a little worried. It's like, are they doing what a lot of production companies are doing these days? And that's showing like the best parts of the movie in the trailer.
Maybe. I mean, we'll have to see to find out, but I do feel like I have a better understanding of how this movie actually plays out now after seeing
Mhm.
this trailer. Now, maybe I'm totally wrong, but, I'm looking forward to the movie. I told someone this today. I said, like, if it wasn't for Superman literally coming 2 weeks before, I would be way more excited for this movie, and I'm still
Mhm.
excited to see Fantastic Four, but for me, like, Superman is so much more important of a character, and I can't wait. I mean, I've got so much of the Superman merch that I'm just like, I it's killing me 2 more weeks before I get to see it. And,
Mhm.
this is 2 weeks after that, and, like, after I see Superman, I'm gonna be super excited for this, but right now, I'm
But
solely
thumb.
focused on Superman. We just saw the
Mhm.
scene where Johnny makes the 4, as he's the Human Torch flying through the sky. I
Yeah.
thought that was a really cool shot.
Mhm.
Um, the Silver Surfer, I think, looks good. I think it looks good. Yesenia had a comment here that the Fantastic Four are superheroes influencers, so,
That's funny.
that'd be funny,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like it genuinely worries me if we're getting like all the highlights of the movie in the trailer. Obviously, trailers are not meant to be in order, which I mean, obviously that doesn't really bother me, but it does bother me when production companies do tend to show the best in their 2 minute and a half trailer, right?
Yeah.
Because here, like you're seeing Sue walk with her baby. Like
Yeah.
in previous trailers we saw that she and
Read.
Reed are expecting, and then through the course of I guess what the timeline is going to be is they're visited by the Surfer, who heralds Galactus, and it's like, okay, unless Sue is able to give birth rapidly, right? This is happening well uh, in a year's time. Like everything that we're going to be watching is happening over a year's time. Or like, that's where
I
I'm
think
trying
we're
to
seeing
figure
over
out.
several years. Like I said, I think the movie's gonna open and they're gonna already be like celebrities, and then we're gonna kinda get like a sort of an origin story of how they got their powers, and then
Okay.
I don't know if it's gonna happen over a 10-year period or a 5-year period, but I think it's gonna happen over time.
I mean, but that baby is not like a 10-year-old child. Obviously, the
No, that's
baby is like
true, that's true.
you know
But the
under a
baby
year old. So
right, the baby is Franklin Richards, who is a very
yeah.
powerful mutant, and
Yes.
I think the first steps refers to his first steps, maybe.
Ah, okay.
I mean,
Play on words. I got
that's
it.
I mean, I didn't create that. That's been online for a while for a lot of people. I mean, you could say it could be the first steps for the Fantastic Four. It's their first
Yeah.
step in the MCU. It's the
Yes.
baby's first steps, and there's a lot of ways you can apply the
It's very
title. But
ambiguous.
I do think that we got to see a lot of Franklin Richards, or we had to see a couple shots of him, which I don't think we
Mhm.
saw him much in anything else. So, um,
Yeah.
obviously, they're
No.
pointing to his future in the MCU.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm not sure. So okay, because am not a huge Fantastic Four fan. I
Yeah.
didn't like the original, sadly. Sorry, guys. I didn't like the reboot. I was very skeptical about this this iteration, but it's got Daddy Pedro in it, so I'm gonna watch it. But is this supposed to be New York City still, even though it's in a completely different universe?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's a
Okay,
retro futuristic 1960s, and it should be.
era.
I mean, the Baxter Building is located in New York, I believe, so
Yeah.
it should be. Yeah.
So it should be New York. Okay, I only asked that because at the beginning of this trailer, you see the thing walking and he passes by a delicatessen. And it's like, is that the same delicatessen that is used in Spider-Man? With Peter, the Tom Holland, Peter
Well,
Parker.
it might be, but it's in different universes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If
Yeah.
it's based in New York, then there's still things that are
Right.
familiar, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just a side
Exactly.
question I had.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm gonna definitely go watch this movie. Thankfully, I will be back in the States to watch this movie. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited.
So, um, my final thing is obviously July is right, less than a week away. We have
Mhm.
3 massive movies coming out in July. Jurassic World Rebirth,
Eh,
July 2nd. Superman, July 11th, and Fantastic Four: First Steps, July 25th. We talked about this several times, but now this is our final pick, right?
yeah.
Which movie is gonna win the box office out of those 3 movies?
I don't know. We're in the Pedro Pascal era, and I want to lean more towards Fantastic Four.
Okay.
I personally am just over the whole Jurassic Park universe. I did not see the last two movies, prior to Rebirth.
You don't need to see them. They're
So
not
I
good.
hear. So
Yeah.
I hear. I love that ScarJo and Jonathan Bailey are in the movies, but like I don't think it's enough for me to want to sit through 2.5 hours worth of something and it just be a bust personally. But that's
Yeah.
again me. Superman is also one of those that I'm not a huge fan, but the more I've seen of the trailers, the more I'm interested. Also, I love the marketing between oh god, Superman
David
actor
Corden Sweat. Yeah.
David, uh, him and
Holt.
Nicholas. No, just kidding. I always do this.
Nicholas Holt. Yeah.
Yeah, it is Nicholas Hall. Okay, I
Yeah.
always confuse him also with the other one. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I love their little marketing videos that they're putting out on social media, like the Trust Fall and and the Princess Diaries little spoof. It's
Yeah.
really cute. It makes me a little bit more excited to watch Superman as well. But I think this movie will probably be the one that will
Okay.
take it. Hopefully, I know a lot of people feel some type of way about superhero fatigue and like the MCU, and just
Mhm.
people had a lot of feelings about the Thunderbolts, and I'm like, people, get it together.
So I think like Jurassic World is maybe the answer a lot of people are going to give because all 3 of those Jurassic World movies made $1 billion, even though each one of them made a little bit less than the one before it, and each one of those was worse than the previous entry. However, this current Jurassic World movie, Rebirth, is not tracking that strong if you believe tracking
Mm-mm.
numbers and information. So I don't think it's going to be Jurassic World.
Yeah,
Now, if you've watched this show or listened to the Watchers in the Basement for the past 6, 7 months, I've talked about this question many times, and my answer has been consistent. Fantastic Four, Fantastic Four, Fantastic Four. However, however, I do believe after seeing the Superman marketing campaign, I just think that people are going to be more interested in a reboot Superman because it's like you literally have to watch nothing before. You can just show up at the theater and go, "Hey, I wonder what a James Gunn Superman movie is going to be like." Right?
yeah, yeah.
I think Superman will win the box office between these 3.
Okay,
So, and I mean, I'm rooting for Superman, obviously my favorite character, but I just feel like it's going to happen. I feel like Superman's going to have a big opening. I think it's going to have
okay,
legs. People are going to go see it. I think of the 3, I think it has the best chance to make $1 billion. Not that the billion is the be all end all, but
yeah,
like it is a marker for movies. And lately we haven't had very many $1 billion movies. In fact, this year I don't think we even have one yet. I think that uh oh, what's the movie on Max recently? The one about the video game that I know nothing about. Oh God, Jack Black and Jason Momoa.
Oh, Minecraft.
Minecraft. I think it got close, but we still don't have a $1 billion movie yet. Although maybe that animated movie from a few weeks back was about to hit $1 billion. Again, I can't even think of the animated movie I'm talking about. Not Elio, but oh gosh, not How to Train Your Dragon because that's live action. Whatever the animated movie that came out a few weeks ago, I'm sure someone in the chat will know. That movie is probably going to do pretty well. But
That's funny.
I think Superman will get there. So
Okay.
yeah.
No, okay.
Final prediction: Superman will make $1 billion and will win the box office for July. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Brittany thinks it'll be Fantastic Four. Wouldn't be surprised if she's right also. So now you know what we thought
pressure.
about. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here?
No. I think we're covered everything. I've said all that I needed to say. To wrap it up, people, be sure to form your own opinion. Don't listen to what critics have to say or what even we have to say.
No. Go see.
Watch the show. Come back and tell us in our live chat next week.
Yeah.
What your thoughts are on Ironheart.
So I had to look it up. The movie I'm talking about is Lilo and Stitch. I think Lilo and Stitch is going
to That is not an animation, sir. That is a
you're right.
Live action movie.
It's live. It was animation. Now it's live action. But
the animation's far better than the live action,
sure
from what I'm told.
I'm sure it is. But
it took out my favorite part from the animation in the real life, in the live action. I'm like, no, I'm not seeing this movie.
I've never seen the animation. I won't see the live action version of this. I know nothing about Lilo and Stitch except for it's called Lilo and Stitch. So
you were watching it. I order you to watch it.
I will not watch it. I'm sorry.
I will make you watch it.
Too much to watch out there. I can't stomach it. So anyway, now
he says, "Oh no."
Yeah.
He said, "Oh no, it's cute."
Also, How to Train Your Dragon. I've never seen any of those movies either, and I don't have any plans on seeing those movies. So, no offense if you like that stuff, go for it. It's not for me. Like, it's not.
I think I have a pretty decent Stitch impersonation, but yeah, I mean,
you want to go for it?
I'm a little shy.
I won't know if it's good or bad. So,
I mean, I like that they brought back. So the voice actor for Stitch is actually the director of the animation.
Oh, that's
movie.
cool.
They brought him back to do the live action Stitch as well. I don't know if I can do it right now. Like, I shouldn't have said anything. Sorry.
It's okay.
Does Stitch have to go to the spaceship?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a little alien. He just has like a little cute little alien voice, and that's kind of it. It's hard for me to do that voice for very long.
Yeah. Let us know, chat. Was that a good Lilo impression?
No, it was Stitch, not Lilo.
Sorry. See, I don't know enough about it. I don't even know. Like, okay. So Lilo is just a person. It's just a kid.
Lilo is the child.
Lilo's the kid. Okay. I have seen the trailer, but
Stitch is very disappointed.
That's great.
That's hard for me to do.
Okay. Good stuff. Yeah, I can see where that'd be tough on your voice. So
a little bit.
So anyway, that about does it for this week's episode. We appreciate everybody checking us out. And now you know what we thought about the first 3 episodes of Ironheart and the final trailer for Fantastic Four. Yes. But we want to know what you think about it. And Brittany, how can people let us know?
Let us know in our next live chat, which will be next week, to discuss the final episodes of Ironheart. We always enjoy the engagement. We enjoy hearing your feedback, answering your questions, and highlighting your comments live here on our live stream. So join us next time. Also, be sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and hit that notification bell. I think we got a new subscriber during today's pod, Justin. So shout out to, I believe it was King Matt the God. Appreciate you being here and sharing your feedback as well. Thanks again to King B. Johnson, Yesenia, and even Trish for joining us, as brief as she did. But we appreciate it as always. Don't forget to follow all of our social media links, which you can find down below, and check out our audio podcasts available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Give us a follow, give us a 5-star rating.
Thank you, Brittany. Really appreciate it. And thanks again to everybody in the chat. You really you don't know how much it means to us that you'll join us for these podcasts. And it's really fun to have someone to kind of bounce off. Besides the two of us, it's good to have someone else to provide information that maybe knows way more than we do, or certainly more than I do about some of this stuff. So it's always fun that you take your time, time every day to join us and to check us out. So we really appreciate it. So yeah, thanks to Brittany. And so for Brittany, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.